Today we're going to be fixing a tie rod. Actually, I'll just go ahead and replace both tie rods. This is on a 2016 Can Am Outlander 650 XT, not the Max. Okay, this has got the DPS on it. And you can see those wheels don't exactly look very straight. They should be towed in just about 1/8 of an inch rather than one toeing out. And we'll get around this way, you can see it better. You can see that tie rod is less than straight. And as you can also see, this left side's kind of bent in. Not gonna go into the story of how it happened. I'm just gonna throw in this excerpt. It started with one of my teens. All right, let's get her started. First thing we gotta do is get her jacked up and remove these wheels because it's a lot easier to get to them once you have them. I'll go ahead and show you that I'm replacing the stock tie rods with these American Stars. They fit quite a few Can-Am models. The normal tie rods are only about 10 millimeters thick, which evidently they are prone to bending. Quite a few people have put up videos, but most of the time it's either not very complete ones, which I'll try to do for you today, or it is on a UTV, side by side. But anyway, normal stock 10 millimeters, these are 12 millimeters, are quite a bit beefier. So I'm gonna stop it right here and get the wheels off. All right, I'm gonna take and reinsert this towards the beginning, although I've already gotten both my tie rods off. I did want to point out the fact that when you're trying to do this, you're gonna have a problem with your whole suspension just moving left to right on you because of your steering. So a nice set of ratchet straps on both sides to keep the handlebars from moving too much. That's a pretty damn helpful thing right there. Just keep it in mind. All right, I got the tires off, and I did that using an 11/16 with a breaker bar. Okay, for all those people who love standard over metric. Now there's a couple of schools of thought when you're taking these things off. Some people will not touch the shock. Some people will take the shock off to give themselves a little bit more room, which I did, of course. Here's the bolt that came out of the middle of it using a 5/8. Now and you'll probably want a deep well when you're taking this one off because it's on there pretty far. Same thing for some of the other nuts. A good set of deep wells never hurts. So I used a 5/8 wrench on the outside to hold it in place. Well, I took that off from the inside, simply pushed, where are we at? There it is. Simply push the bolt out from there. These DIYs are great for helping people who've never done maintenance work before, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if you go trying to push that pin out, that one right there with a hammer, and you flare the end, you'll never get that nut back on, so that's just a warning. All I did was just wiggle this thing a little bit in the arm and just pushed it right out. Okay, now as far as these went, I removed the cotter pins off the bottom. Those are pretty easy. I'll show you a picture of those here later. And you got a washer on the bottom and the top of these things. Now I used a 3/4 to hold the nut at the bottom. And I told you about that little notch. That's about, yeah, right here. Okay, and I used a 11/16 to hold that. Okay, and for the most part, you just got to kind of work them against each other, you know. Pull one way, then the other. You're not going to have a whole lot of room in there. So if you have one of those fancy little wrenches that's got the ratchet right in here, that will be your best friend. If not, you basically just work them apart from each other. And it's a pain in the butt. And then once that's done, you simply just, I'm doing this one hand, so I'll do that with it's fun. You just pull it out. And there you go. All right, so you can see what a stock tie rod and ends look like next to this one. You can basically tell these are a bit beefier. Okay, so those better last against a good stump or a rock. Other than that, I'm gonna take out the good one, and when I do, I'm gonna simply measure the good one up against these two so I can get my pretty good estimate of what the length of these should be, you know, because you got to adjust these things. Something else I also heard about, these things turn opposite when you're adjusting them. So if you think they're going the same way to go in and out, they're not. Somebody actually said that he called American Star and got them to send him a new one because he thought they were defective. And then he realized, oh crap, it just turns the opposite direction. So he ended up with 2 sets of them. Something else I wanted to show is the cotter pins I pulled out. These are the ones I pulled out of the existing tie rod ends, where the king nut, and these king nuts down here. These are the new ones. You can see there's a bit of a difference there. These things were so easy to pull out. I literally did it with just I bent them back with my fingers, and I started using a good set of needle nose, but then I said, I can just pull them out by hand. So they were kind of cheap. Way to go, Can Am. Here we put some thicker parts in there. All right, I started go ahead and taking the shock off the other side. I did want to mention this though. When you're taking this bolt out, okay, using 5/8 inch standard, this brake line is going to be in your way a little bit when you're pushing this end out, okay? It kind of gets caught on this lip. Just be gentle, give it a little pull up. It'll work its way loose. And then let the A on drop. There we go. Now we got a little room to get back up in there. So much fun. All right, once again, now that I've got my good tie rod, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the new ones kind of sized up to this one. Obviously, you don't want to use that one because it's bent like hell. But you just want to get them kind of about right, you know, pretty even with each other. So that way when you put these on, both tires should be kind of straight. And from that point on, you know, you kind of toe them in about 1/8 of an inch against each other, though. They both won't be straight, they'll be towed in just about 1/8 of an inch. That's because when you're riding, they kind of want to flex out a little bit. So bear that one in mind. You don't want perfectly straight tires when you're putting these back on, but you get these close, and once you put these in, then you can do a little final adjustment, and we'll talk about that there. All right, well, I got these installed, okay? And I want to throw a little piece of advice before I keep finishing up. When it comes to these holes for these cotter pins, if I was you, I'd set yourself up for success. And when you got your wrench down here and you're tightening up here with another wrench, or if you're using a ratchet wrench, make sure these holes are in a direction it's easy to get that cotter pin in and out, okay? Instead of them facing to the front or to the back, missing my, there we go. And it's not so easy to get them in or out, right? The second thing is, you're gonna notice that this new system did not come with the washers, 2 sets of washers for the top and the bottom, or inner and outer tie rod ends. And you could probably not use them. I went ahead and threw them back on there for stinks and giggles. I figure it can't really hurt. I mean, they're not very thick. So that's a judgment call for you. I haven't found anybody that says you have to use them or you don't have to use them. But I just went ahead and used them. Okay, there it is. New tie rods in. Took a little time to get them, get them aligned. Remember, we gotta have that 1/8 inch toe in. You know, so the tires are gonna angle in just a hair bit. The way I kind of checked it out is I put the tires back on with just 2 lug nuts, and I took a straight board and I kind of took it from the front wheel to the back wheel, and I just wanted to see just about 1/8 of an inch towards the front of the wheel where that board come across. I kind of hope that makes sense to you. That's it for this video. I hope it helped. More than likely I'm going to do another video where I'm taking apart this front bumper. I'll explain that another time. And we're going to see about changing out maybe this brush guard. There's a brush guard bracket in there that might be also bent. Well, more Can Am videos coming. Thanks for hanging in.